Have you ever caught yourself replaying a conversation that never actually happened? Maybe you're lying in bed when your mind suddenly brings someone into the room. You explain exactly how they hurt you. This time, you don't freeze. You don't stumble over your words. You say everything perfectly. They finally understand. They finally apologize. Then you blink, and your bedroom is quiet again. Nothing happened, yet your emotions did. Your heart is beating faster. Your jaw is tense. Maybe you're even smiling or feeling angry because of a moment that never existed. That's strange, isn't it? How can something completely imaginary leave behind very real emotions? Most people never stop to question it. They brush it off as daydreaming or overthinking and move on. But your mind keeps coming back. Not to every memory, not to every person, only to certain scenes, certain conversations, certain endings, almost as if they're asking for your attention. And the reason that happens isn't the one most people think. Because these imaginary scenarios aren't simply random stories your brain invents to pass the time. They're signals, small clues pointing towards something happening beneath your awareness. Think about it. Why does one awkward conversation disappear by the next morning, while another keeps replaying for years? Why do some people imagine finally proving themselves, while others can't stop imagining everything falling apart before it even begins? Different stories, different characters, but beneath them, the same hidden system may be at work. A system that quietly shapes your emotions before reality ever gets the chance. The surprising part is that this system isn't trying to confuse you. In many cases, it's trying to help. But when you don't understand how it works, it can slowly pull you into rehearsing life instead of living it. And once that happens, the line between preparation and escape becomes much harder to see. So before we explore why your mind keeps creating these invisible conversations, we first need to answer a much stranger question. Why does your brain respond to an imaginary moment as if it were real? Your brain doesn't wait for life to happen before preparing for it. Imagine you're about to send a message you've rewritten 5 times. Your thumb hovers over the screen. Before you press send, you've already imagined them ignoring it, replying instantly, misunderstanding you, or saying exactly what you hope to hear. The message hasn't even left your phone, but your mind has already lived through every ending. That's because your brain is constantly running quiet rehearsals, testing possible futures before they become real. It isn't trying to predict the future perfectly. It's trying to make uncertainty feel less threatening. Because your mind hates unanswered questions, an uncertain outcome feels unfinished. So your brain fills in the blanks with possibilities, hoping one of them will prepare you for whatever comes next. This ability is one of the reasons humans can plan, adapt, and solve problems. Athletes use it intentionally, picturing each movement before they perform it. But the same system can quietly turn against you. Instead of preparing once and moving on, your mind keeps replaying the same scene. You search for a better response, a safer outcome, the perfect version of an event that hasn't even happened. Without realizing it, you've stopped preparing for life and started living inside a rehearsal that never ends. The more often a scene returns, the more your brain assumes it matters. Not because it's true, not because it's likely, simply because it keeps appearing. That's why some imaginary conversations become impossible to forget. They aren't repeating because they're meaningful. They become meaningful because they're repeating. But repetition alone doesn't explain why certain scenes keep pulling you back. The answer isn't hiding in the future. It's hiding in something your mind still hasn't been able to let go of. And that's where these imaginary scenarios become far more than simple rehearsals. If imagination existed only to prepare you for the future, most fake scenarios would disappear the moment you felt ready. But they don't. Some conversations stay with you for days. Others quietly return years later, as if your mind refuses to file them away. That's because preparation is only part of the story. Sometimes your brain isn't looking for a better answer. It's trying to change how the moment made you feel. Think about a conversation you still replay. Maybe someone misunderstood what you meant, and hours later you're suddenly imagining the perfect response while washing the dishes or driving home. Deep down, it isn't really about finding better words. It's about finally feeling understood. That's an important difference. Your mind isn't always rewriting the conversation. Sometimes it's rewriting the emotion attached to it. That's why people imagine finally hearing an apology they'll probably never receive, proving themselves to someone who doubted them, or replaying a moment they wish had ended differently. The conversation changes. The emotional need stays the same. And that's exactly what makes imagination so powerful. Inside your mind, everything unfolds the way you wish it had. No interruptions, no awkward silence, no unexpected reaction, just a version of the story where everything finally makes sense. For a moment, that certainty feels comforting. Real life doesn't offer that kind of control. People surprise you. Conversations take unexpected turns. Sometimes they end without the closure you hoped for. And while that uncertainty can be uncomfortable, it's also what makes real relationships genuine instead of scripted. Imagination isn't the enemy. In many moments, it's a healthy way to process experiences, prepare for challenges, or explore possibilities. The problem begins when imagined resolution starts feeling safer than real conversation. Because little by little, your mind can become more invested in perfect endings than authentic ones. And without realizing it, those invisible stories stop changing your emotions and start changing the way you see yourself. Here's the twist most people never notice. The fake scenarios you imagine don't just influence your emotions. Over time, they can quietly influence the story you tell yourself about who you are. Think about someone who repeatedly imagines being ignored. They picture sending a message that never gets a reply. They imagine people losing interest halfway through a conversation. Nobody has actually rejected them in that moment. Yet each imagined scene whispers the same message. Maybe I'm just someone people overlook. The dangerous part isn't the scenario itself. It's the identity that slowly grows around it. Your mind isn't built only to remember experiences. It's constantly asking a much deeper question. What do these experiences say about me? And when the same emotional story plays often enough, your brain can stop treating it like imagination and start treating it like part of your identity. Without realizing it, you begin expecting yourself to act the same way. You hesitate before speaking. You hold back your opinion, not because you've proven you can't handle the moment, but because you've rehearsed a version of yourself that always does. That's how invisible stories become invisible limits. The strange thing is that this works both ways. If your imagination repeatedly reminds you that you're incapable, you'll begin noticing every moment that seems to confirm it. If it reminds you that challenges can be faced, you'll begin noticing opportunities you once ignored. The world hasn't changed. The lens you're looking through has. That's why imagination is so much more than entertainment. It's one of the places where your identity is quietly negotiated, one story at a time. So the real question was never whether you imagine fake scenarios. Everyone does. The question is whether those stories are helping you face reality or quietly replacing it. Because the moment you can tell the difference, you stop letting your imagination define who you are, and you start deciding that for yourself. So what does it really mean if you constantly imagine fake scenarios? It doesn't automatically mean something is wrong with you. More often, it means your brain is trying to solve uncertainty before reality has the chance to. Throughout this video, we've uncovered the pattern. First, your mind rehearses possible futures. Then it searches for emotional closure. And if the same stories play often enough, they can quietly shape the way you see yourself. That's the hidden psychology. The scenarios were never the destination. They were your brain's attempt to answer a question it believed was still unfinished. The problem begins when those imagined stories become more comfortable than real experiences. Because once that happens, your mind slowly stops using imagination to support reality and starts using it to replace reality. No imaginary conversation can teach you how another person will actually respond. No perfect ending inside your head can surprise you, challenge you, or help you grow the way a real moment can. That's why the goal isn't to stop imagining. The goal is to notice what your imagination is asking for. The next time you catch yourself replaying a scene that doesn't exist, pause for a second and ask yourself, am I preparing for something? Or am I escaping from something? That single question changes everything. Because the answer usually isn't hiding inside the scenario. It's hiding inside the need that created it. And once you understand that, you stop chasing the story. You start understanding the storyteller. If this video helped you see your own mind a little more clearly, leave a like so more people can discover these hidden patterns of human psychology. And if you're curious about the invisible forces that shape our thoughts, habits, and behavior, subscribe because that's exactly what we explore here. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one imaginary scenario your mind keeps returning to? And after watching this video, what do you think it's really trying to tell you?